Well, good day, everybody. Morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever time you're catching us. Whether you're watching us now live as we're streaming live, or maybe later on you decide to sit down and you're watching this on repeat. We'd love to, and we're grateful to have you any which way we can. And today we have a very special guest. But before we do, we always got to check in and see how our other side is doing. Nicole, how are you doing on this lovely day today?
You know what? I'm doing good. I spent a week in Texas. So, things are always big in Texas, a lot of stuff going on there. So, I'm kind of catching up today from all of that. But as always, I look forward to Wednesday, and we really have an amazing guest today. So, I'm going to get started with his introduction. And the first thing you'll notice is he has an amazing accent. And I love it. I love it. I love it. And he's from Ireland. He is the CEO and founder of Think Network. And I want you to listen to some of these words I'm using too. Award winning, world leading, a personal development and personal branding expert. He helps ambitious entrepreneurs, thought leaders to be seen and heard and to be visible globally. He's the Ulster Tatler Businessman of the Year.
Wow.
And I am so excited to have Gary Doherty with us today. So with that,
Woohoo!
ooh, how exciting, Gary. You've got a lot of monikers right here. And I met you just a couple months ago, what, 6 or 7 months ago? And
Yeah.
you were a doer then, but I'm watching you, my friend, and you are exploding.
Yeah.
So first of all, congratulations for that. That's pretty darn amazing. But when you see words like globally and man of the year and branding expert, that's really, really exciting. So congratulations for all of that. And where should we get started, Glenda? What do we need to know from this guy?
Well, before you can become a global person and the grandeur of it all, it's got to start somewhere. So, somewhere along the lines, you didn't come out this way, walking out with your gloves on and you're roaring and going. So, how did you actually start to get into this and learn what you've learned to become where you are?
Do you know what? Started off in here. That's where it started. It started off with a thought. It started off with self belief. It started off with, well, it actually started off, it was always in there. It was always in there. I just wasn't displaying it when I was younger, and I didn't have the courage of my own conviction, or I didn't have the belief system to really have the courage to put my best foot forward. But funny enough, Glenda, here's one for you and Nicole. I used to look at very successful people from a young age, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm talking about 10, 11, 12. I remember I lived in a small town, and the successful people stood out. They owned the hotels, and they owned this and they owned that. And when I used to work in the hotels part-time, or I used to go to the big fancy car garages just to look at the big fancy cars, and I used to look at these people doing their job, right? And two things. One, I always thought, fair play to you. I love successful people. I was never envious or hated or anything like that. I always was motivated by other people's success. That's the first thing, because not more people should be like that, in my opinion. Second thing is, and here's where when I look back, I know I had what it took. I used to look at those people and think I could do what they're doing or do it better.
Oh, I love that.
Genuinely. And I'm one of those people, even today, and I go into a business that I'm not an expert on anything, and I look at how they're doing things. It's just like a coffee shop. I'll go into a coffee shop, and they could ask me my order 3 times, and I'm thinking, God, that's so inefficient. Why don't you do this and put that there? And this is how I think. And I go into at different businesses for different services, and I'm thinking that could be improved. I was always thinking I could do that better. Always. I've always been like that. Always.
I love this because I can so get in with you. I do the exact same thing of looking of ways that people can improve their businesses or up level themselves. And yes, I can relate.
Yeah. So that's that I was like that at a young age. But never, and I carried that through my life, but never really had the courage, belief, know-how. I was never, I always felt I had it within, but I didn't know how, or I didn't know what my passion really was in life, you know, or purpose even for that matter. And then I met my wife in about 1996, and we got married in the year 2000. And when I met her father, my late father-in-law who passed away, he told me he believed in me. He told me I had what it took to make it in life. I had never heard those words before, not once my whole life.
So you didn't grow up with having a supportive background with your parents or that?
I grew up having a mother, father, and a sister, very an affluent area, both of them very good jobs, middle class people, went to good secondary school, had everything in life. I would say the thing that we lacked was that, and it can be largely a generational thing. It's not just a specific person thing. Largely of that generation, from people that I know as well, there would have been a lack of emotional intelligence, let's say, for want of a better phrase, in the home. You know, really in tune with feelings and emotions. They wouldn't have been conversations around our dinner table. You know, so that's just the way that was. So I suppose I lacked, we didn't talk about belief or desire or being successful or striving to be more or ambition or none of those things. That was never talked about, you know. So.
And Gary, you said it's very interesting that you had that situation at home, but yet you married into a family your wife's father, and that's kind of unusual, if you will. How did that feel when you finally had someone tell you that he believed in you and that you could do this?
Would I tell you something now? We see this. I want to show this, so I'm coming back, but not disappearing. I want to show you something. I'll tell you what it meant to me. He's passed away, and I have this wee picture here. I don't have that many pictures of him or with him, but I have this wee picture.
Oh.
And it's up on my vision board, so I see it all the time, and it's in line with my purpose and passion and why in life, you know. And when I won the Businessman of the Year title a few months ago in my own country, I had him in my wallet with me, going up to receive it, and just a pity he wasn't here to see any of it in person. But you know, he's seen me be successful before, and I had a business 10 years property business, and lost it. I made a lot of money and lost a lot of money, and he was there for me when in the downtime, you know, when I had nothing, and I was nobody publicly, and I lost everything, and he was there for me by my side and lending me money and just there for advice. I had no car when I got it. When I had no car, he used to run me to work. He used to drive. He was in his 60s, and he used nearly 70, and he used to drive me an hour and a half to a job, and then come back and collect me in the evening to bring me home. Like what that,
beautiful man.
Yeah, that's the sort of human being he was. Do you know what I mean? And like you know, to have somebody of his stature and success and wisdom in life to believe in me, like, yeah, to go back to your question, Nicole, how did it make me feel? Like, there are no words to describe. Like, I feel emotional now talking about it. Like, there's no words to describe how it made me feel. Look how poignantly I'm mentioning it now and talking about it now. Like, so 20 years after he told me he believed in me, 25 years, and he's dead 7.5 years, and he's not here to see the you know, we're at the top now, right where we belong.
That's beautiful.
And he's not here to see it, and that's bittersweet.
Maybe he is.
Maybe he is.
I believe that there's you know, their souls live on, and you know, and they guide you still. So sometimes, you know, those whispers and things like that, where are they actually coming from, you know?
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. And my mother-in-law the same. She was, and actually it's very, very funny, right? As much as he was the mentor and he was the guy, and I have all the public adoration for him, interestingly enough, the best conversations I had were actually with my mother-in-law. but they were on a one-to-one private basis. She wasn't as out. He was the front facing, the public sort of, the businessman and the this, that, and the other, and she was very much the driving force, supportive wife, done all his admin and done all his books and looked after the money, and always, and so she had a lot of wisdom herself, but she would have been quieter in big groups and then when you got her in a one-to-one, you got gold. I got some of the best advice I had. My best conversations between the two were with her.
Wow.
I got the best sort of mentorship on the daily, the best inspiration, the best sort of holistic guidance, and the best support on the daily from Marshall, because he's very vocal with it. But the best deep, meaningful conversations were, she was a very good confidant, and I enjoyed those, and I miss those as well. They died within seven months of one another.
Wow. That's
So you can imagine the turmoil in our life, and then anyway, is
Sure.
what it is.
With somebody with such, especially the two of them having so much involvement in your family and giving you so much. It's a beautiful thing, but how lucky you were to have that and to have that support. And I think that's a really important thing that so many people need in their lives, is having somebody who believes in them, because sometimes, we don't have that within ourselves.
Yeah, and I didn't, you see. So to hear those words, and it just set me off on a crusade that I just knew that I could be something more than just existing, something more than waking up, going to a job, coming home. I was more than that, and I was born for more than that, and I know that. And I knew it back then too. As I said to you, when I was 10, 11, I used to look at these things and think, okay, great, you're brilliant, but I know I could do that better. And I was only a child, and I had no brains, and I had no education, no money, no nothing, just myself. And I just thought, no, I could do that better. I know I can. And
Wow.
I felt that from day dot.
So what was your first initial thing that you went into?
Ooh, what in entrepreneurial world or in any world?
Yeah, well, in the entrepreneurial space.
Entrepreneurial space, would you believe it? My first endeavor in the entrepreneurial space was buying out a guy in a business. I bought a guy that was owned an estate agency, and a successful one, and we bought him out. So that was well, that's not strictly true. My first endeavor in the entrepreneurial space, how I actually even got into a position to be able to buy him out, was I met him. Funnily enough, I was a sales manager in an electrical store, like selling washing machines and fridge freezers and TVs and stuff like that. And that's where I really got my confidence, built my confidence speaking to people and communicating. And I became very good at it. I started off as a junior salesman. Then 2 years I was general manager, ran the store. 2 years, only a young pup at the time. And this guy, this estate agent, was coming into the shop to buy white goods for houses that he owned, property that he owned. Turned out to be the estate agent, right? So I became friendly with him. What happened? My inquisitive mindset, I was looking at him doing it, and I was thinking, I can do that. Right? So you can see the common theme. And honestly, he was telling me how he did it. And I was like, okay, right. Why haven't you bought 10 properties? Why have you stopped at 2? Oh, but just I haven't got around it. And I'm thinking, see, if I got into that way I'm going, I'd buy 100 within a year. And I was just like, I can do this. I know I can. So anyway, I maneuvered a situation where I was able to buy my first investment property. Within 2 years, I had 18 of them. I was flying. I had a lot of disposable income, and then I thought, what better way than I'm buying these properties off an estate agent. I'm paying him £2,000 for every time I buy one. Why don't I just buy the damn estate agent and control the whole supply chain and buy whatever I want, whenever I want? And I approached him, bought the place, £100,000 it was, like 15 years ago. I bought it. I had half a dozen staff, inherited the whole thing, bought it, and about 2 years later, the whole property crash that around the world, the global economic environment, banks calling money in, and that's when things went boom. So that was my first entrepreneurial venture. Very successful one. A big downside to it. But you know what? I wouldn't have changed it. I was on a podcast this morning, and I tell you something now. I thank God for it. I thank God for losing everything. I thank God for the failure. It made me a better man.
It makes you think a little bit differently, doesn't it?
Transform me.
Yeah.
I
It's humbling.
I went from new money, arrogant, wasteful, single-minded. I knew best. Sure, how wouldn't I? Everything I touch turns to gold, and I can do it better. Blah blah blah, and then you get brought to your knees, and which I actually physically was, and I just thought. I look back now, grateful for it all. Thank God for it, because I'm 10 times the man, father, son, friend, businessman, and it's all good. Honestly, everything for a reason, and it had to happen to me. It had to happen to me.
That's what happens in so many people, especially young people, when they're beginning and things start going. They lose that groundingness all of a sudden, and they think in a very we see it now when we're at our point in life.
Yeah.
But when you're in it at that point, you think that you can't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
And sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is that the earth falls out from under you.
It's the same with health. We think we're invincible until something goes wrong.
Yeah.
And then
it's like that moment. Yeah.
And I felt that.
So when the world went crumbling down and you lost everything, what was your next step to step into?
It took me about 10 years to rebuild, but I spent amazing 10 years because my father-in-law said to me one day when I was sitting around on his kitchen table, no money, no car, no home, no nothing. We had a rented accommodation, and he said to me, Gary, I've always told you have what it takes. I always told you I believed in you, and I do. And you've got such an entrepreneurial feel. You can sell anything. You're great. You're liked, you're pop, you have all these attributes. He says, do you know the one thing that you actually don't have? And I said, what's that? And he goes, an education. He said, you're not actually educated in terms of, understanding maybe the rationale behind decisions I would make, maybe in leadership or management or business or whatever it might be. He said, my advice to you at this stage in your life and where you're at, go and get educated. He says, even you never done a thing with it. He said, what it will do, he says, it'll breed confidence from within. That'll give you, you'll have achieved something again, something else to move forward for, another big goal, a purpose. And I'll tell you what, Glenda and Nicole, I said to him that day, you're mad. You're mad. I said, nobody in my family's history has ever been to third level education. University, that's for the upper class. That's for money people. That's for really clever people. Like that was my view, because nobody had ever been to grammar school in my family. Never ever. Like I'd never even been in a university, like as a visitor, never mind as anything else. And I was sitting thinking, Jesus, this is a bit of pie in the sky, But anyway, he knew how to work me. Do you know what he had done? Planted the seed. God works in mysterious ways, right? Rather than preaching to me, anybody preaches to me, I'm like, get away. I don't like people preaching at me. It's like forcing your opinion on me. Talk to me, educate me, put your arm around me, nurture me, give me a wee seed, give me a wee book to read. I'm that sort of person. That's how I receive information, or one of the ways. And that's what he was doing, planting that seed. And about what he didn't know was I went away laughing, like in front of him, saying, you're mad. Never, ever will I be at that. Are you crazy? I went away, and about a week later, still flying around in my head. I thought, I must ring up about a prospectus for this university. At that time there was you didn't get ebooks or nothing like that. You're going back, whatever it was. It wasn't that long ago. It was like, where is it? I have the thing up on the wall here. It was 2000 and, look, I can't see it. 2000 and what? 2010, 2011. And anyway, I rang up for the prospectus and they posted it out. So I sat and flicked through the catalogue, and I thought, that there looks like a nice wee course there, a degree in business. What better way? I know about business, but I don't understand the rationale behind decision making. From an academic point of view, surely that would make me a better businessman. Can't do me any harm. So I looked into it, and long story short, I shouldn't have even been applying for it because I hadn't got the A level. I hadn't got the prerequisite qualifications to get in, and I didn't have the money to pay for it. So anyway, without anybody knowing, I reached out to this guy that I knew high up in the university because I'd actually sold him stuff in the shop, in the electrical store. He was a client. He was one of the senior lecturers at the university, and he believed in me too. And I said to him, "Hey, I'm thinking of doing this here." And he goes, "Oh, Gary, it'd be hard to get in to do that. You need X, Y, Z." He said, "I'll introduce you to the course coordinator." So he introduced me to the course coordinator, who after a phone call said, "Gary, you've got it. You're in. I shouldn't be doing this, but you're in."
Wow.
There's a phone number. There's a phone number to a crowd that'll grant you the money, basically. So they paid the money for the course, and he put me in, and I shouldn't even have been there. But I was there. Fast forward 2.5 years, graduated with one of the top honors in the university. Then I went on and done a master's, which is like the creme de la creme in the university, just below doctorate level, PhD. And I got a scholarship. I flew to England to meet this, that, and the other. And I just rose to the very top. And it just reaffirmed to me, other than flying rockets to the moon or flying planes or, being a Michelin star chef tomorrow, most things are possible. Most things. Not everything, because we have to be realistic with some things. I'm not going to be a brain surgeon, even if I wanted to be. But most things are pretty much possible if you have enough desire. And I've demonstrated that like countless times. That's just another one.
And it's crazy that somehow, some way, things work out even when you think there's no way possible. Yeah. But when you have that real desire, it's like the earth, the universe moves to have things in place for you.
Yeah. The universe watches you take action, and then it goes along with you. But Gary, I'm really curious about one thing. Is your father-in-law had a ton of faith in you? Would you say that? I mean, he knew things about you before you knew it.
Yes.
And I see that a lot, like when you work with me. Yeah. You're very positive with this. It almost feels like maybe he was an influence on you to how you react with your clients today. Would you say that's true? Because you make me feel better when I work with you.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. And I'll share this with you, right? And he's not here any longer. He spent his whole life nurturing me, even when I was misbehaving, even when we're not our best selves, are we, all the time? We've done things in our life that if we go back, we wouldn't do again, right? Whether it be arrogance here or spending money there or an attitude there or an altercation there, whatever it is, right? Everybody's got something. Anyway, he was there for me the whole way, right? But here's what happened. He died at, I think he was 82. And you see the last 2 or 3 years before he passed away, do you know what he used to do? He used to come to me for advice.
Wow.
I swear to you now, it was like the passing of a torch, or nearly like he was testing me, but I actually think he needed me at that stage. He would come to me and say, "Hey, Gary, I'm talking to this couple about this, that, and the other," because he was an elder in the church. He used to go around the community and just call in with families and see if they were okay, see if they needed any advice. And he used to come to me then in confidence saying, "Did I handle that well? Did I do that right?" And he used to then, when he met me, when he introduced me to people, he used to say, "Here's Gary. Gary's a great philosopher now. Gary does a lot of reading around personal development. Gary's he's got amazing insights and thought leading." And it was nearly like he was doing two things. One, I actually think he did value my advice and opinion. That's the first thing. And two, he's nearly like training me up. He's nearly like going, you're going to go and do this now, for other people in your own way, in your own style, in your own genre, and I'm just making sure you can, because you're doing it for me now. And honestly, that's how I nearly should have seen his passing coming. Do you know what I mean? It happened suddenly, but when we look back, there was so many things that he was almost passing me a baton. It felt like. When I look back now, I can see it clearly, as clear as day. Even conversations we had, Like he moved home back to where he was born and everything.
Wow.
He moved back to where he was born. And when I said to him, why did you move back there? Because he had all this grandeur in life and he moved back to humble beginnings. He goes, just felt like coming back home.
So he came full circle.
Yes. And I should have seen his passing coming, even though it was so sudden, because he was there in the morning and gone in the evening.
You know, I think we all have the ability to understand possibly when it's our time. We don't know the exact moment, but we scripted. I always feel we've scripted our whole life before we came. And sometimes we just have to tie it up at the end to make everything right. And it's really quite a blessing that you two found each other, because that doesn't always happen, with in-laws. I was blessed like you were, but boy, it's your story is absolutely amazing.
I love it.
I had a very, very special relationship with him, and everybody could see it. Everybody, even his own siblings, or even his own children. Even his own children. My wife has got a brother and a sister, and they could all see it. Everybody could see it. Everybody could see it.
Well, there is something about personalities, when you when you click, you click. That's exactly it. It doesn't matter who that other person is. It's just there's something there that we gravitate towards people like us, or maybe people that we kind of fit in together as a puzzle.
Yeah.
Right?
That book there, anybody watching sees this, The Law of Success, Napoleon Hill. In it, they talk about the law of vibration, and what you're talking about there, Glenda, is when, like when we meet and our vibration, our energy, like we can hear voices in the radio, but we can't see people. There's a wave, there's an energy, there's a vibration. There, even when you touch it, you can feel it moving slightly. Like a radio, you turn it up in volume and you can feel it moving. It's like you have a vibration, Nicole. I do, and when we're similar high vibrations and they meet. That's when you've met a like mind. That's when you click with somebody. That's when you're on the same page. The opposite is also true. You meet somebody and you don't get on. You don't like their vibe. Their energy is not for you. It's off-putting. It's toxic. It makes you feel worse than you felt before. And I really believe that. And obviously, my vibration was at that level where it just met and it became one.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a second as well. Is people have to realize, and I agree with you 1,000,000% on that. Is when you find somebody that you have a high vibration, you click, you maybe even to the part where you can finish each other's words. Like you say like get out of my head. I was just thinking that there's so many times, and I know Nicole and I have that going, and with you, it's just that level where I see Think and Grow Rich. I'm a student of Think and Grow Rich, so I get all of that. We're all on the same thing. But what other people need to realize is when you are connected to others, where there isn't a vibration, where you don't feel good, where you feel something's off. Those are the people that we got to learn that it's not wrong. That sometimes you just got to, it's like you're on a highway and sometimes you just got to move around them and not stay with them just because maybe they were introduced by somebody or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. And do you want to know something? That's one of the highest forms of self-care, being selfish, self-care. A lot of people stay in toxic relationships, or they stay in friendships because they know them from school or whatever. You don't have to fall out with people. You don't have to, you gain distance. You create distance. Keep circles small. Like you talk about the law, what is it? I like leaving people, and I try to consciously do it. But even when I don't consciously do it more often enough, I do it anyway, which is good for me, and I'm proud of that. And we should try to be like that. And I should do it more. Leave people with a feeling of increase, that they're glad they've met you. They've learned something, or you're somebody of value, or you're in their corner, or you've championed them, or you've paid them a compliment, or you've told them you'll support them, or you've just been turned up pleasant. You've left them with a feeling of something that was better than it was 2 minutes before. And that's when I know if somebody's for me. When I leave with a feeling of decrease, that person isn't for me, and I don't care how much money they have, how successful they are, what group they're in, how they can help my business or anything. They ain't for me. And I honestly have cut I have cut very, 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 very famous people out of my life that are like Hollywood star of fame people that I've met in big mastermind groups, and their energy is in for me. And I've went, I don't care how famous you are, stop WhatsApping me.
Exactly. It doesn't matter. That has nothing to do with it. You know, it could be the smallest, humblest person that really, you know, you connect with and that you want to stay on good terms with or stay connected. And it doesn't matter of what somebody has, you know, or what level they are, you know, financially, they can have it all, but, you know, they actually don't.
Yeah, they have nothing. All they have is money. They're that poor. All they have is money.
But you know what I've found too is as you increase your frequency and vibration, the universe generally takes care of all that for you very organically, or it has for me.
Yeah.
So you don't have to even tell them anything. It's just that they don't vibe with you and you don't vibe with them, and you just go your separate ways.
Yeah.
You know, no
That can
harm, no.
happen. That can happen too. That has happened. You drift from people. You aren't in their life. They're not in yours. There's a reason for that. You aren't on the same page, or you have different interests. And like that's definitely the case with me. Like, you know, without naming names, because somebody could watch this, but it's like you know, I've met people that I know from growing up, and I see them out and about, and maybe when you meet them they want to gossip or they want to talk crap about he said, she said, and I'm like, Jesus, get away from me.
Yeah.
You know, in my mind I'm thinking, please stop this here. How do I get out of this conversation? God, is that the time I have to go? Whereas years ago you'd have been, oh, it was a bit of crack, you know, it was a bit of, oh right, did they, oh. Now I'm like, listen, I'm not about that life, you know. I'm about helping people, supporting people. I'm not about running somebody down. Even people that I don't like, I still wish them well. They just don't have to be in my life. Like, what sort of person are you when you wish somebody not well, or you wish them failure, or you wish bad things on them? Now, I know there's extreme circumstances like that would be natural to lean into that. I'm not talking about those extreme. I'm talking about everyday life. I'm like, there's people I'm not fussed on because the different values to me. I don't wish them any ill will. No way. Because
It
that's
doesn't
not,
get you anywhere.
that's not good for me. That's like having poison and drinking it yourself.
Right. And everything circles back. So you have to be very cautious of your words, thoughts, and actions.
Of course. But listen, do you want to know something? Isn't it a journey, all this too? Because, you know, anybody listening would think I have it all figured out, but I don't. I just know more today than I did yesterday, and I'll know more tomorrow than I did today. And you know, for me in my life, it's about constantly evolving and improving. I have a big it's a big value and a mantra of mine about perpetual increase and constant improvement. It's not just about working hard. That's old age thinking. Anybody can work hard if they have the right attitude, but not everybody can know where to improve and an upward trajectory, and or even wants to. And that's my focus, and that served me very well. I must always improve, whilst acknowledging that I'm doing good and proud of myself and all those things. But I am very, very focused always on improving, even it being a service or a value, or even it being a graphic for a client or a video. How can we improve that? Is there a new app for captions? How can we improve that graphic? Are we able to invest in a graphic design package to make sure our clients are getting a better? If we do an event, how do we make that one better than the one before? Was the sound system good enough? It's just that attitude, you know, serves me well personally.
Absolutely. So can you tell us a little bit about the Think Network?
Yeah, Think Network was a figment of my imagination. I remember sitting at home, and it was around 2018, and I was thinking, there's more to life than working a 9 to 5. You know, I was back to that thought process. I had spent a long time at university getting my qualifications, and I suppose I was getting that entrepreneurial spirit was coming to the forefront and bubbling again, and I was starting to look at opportunities that I would never have looked at because I was so badly burnt with the experience.
Yeah.
But even saying that, Think Network didn't start off as a business, but maybe subconsciously I was thinking it could be a business, but it certainly was on the surface, wasn't in my perfect, wasn't here in my surface thinking. I was thinking, I just want to, I want to be the change that I don't see. I didn't see any motivational, empowering, motivating speaking events in Northern Ireland. None. Zero. I Googled it. I went on to Eventbrite, everything. Couldn't see a thing because I wanted that in my life. And then I sat and I thought, okay, there is none. I'll be the damn thing.
Oh,
That's a God's honest truth. And I went on to Canva and I made up a mock logo of a wee light bulb and the word Think Network around it. It was terrible looking. And that was it. I set up a Facebook page. I thought I'll do an event. I invited 7 people that I knew in my network to speak. It was a free event in the summer. 21 people turned up at it in a room that held 300. And depending on what eyes and lens that you're looking at, that could be a failure to some people, but it wasn't to me. I remember that night thinking, this is success. I see success. That's 21 people more than there was the night before. Now we're off and running. The next event had 60 people. The one after it had 120. The one after it had 400.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean? And the rest is history.
Wow, that is phenomenal.
Yeah, and this logo here is the one that I'm looking at behind me here. That one there's designed by one of the top graphic design companies in the whole of the UK, and quite fitting for one of the best companies in the UK. So if not the best. And I'm very proud of it, and onwards we go, and I don't even know myself what's next.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. You've done so much in this period of time. What ladder are you climbing next? But it seems like it comes to you.
Well, Think Network. Funnily enough, what I didn't get saying there was Think Network is the parent company where I do a lot of my work. 90% of my work is underneath that in another company called Be Seen PR, where we put ambitious individuals into global media publications consistently, get them on the podcast, get them executive contributor roles, get them lovely graphics, introduce them to amazing people, and really grow their personal brand so that they stand out like the authority and expert that they are. And why do I do that? Because I wanted that for me. I've got it all for me, and I love nothing more than doing it with and for other people.
And so are you a coach also? Do you do coaching one-on-one or group, or how? What?
That's a good question. And you've got, I'll tell you what, do you want to know something? I've got a bit of a debate with myself. I don't know if I want to be a coach. Right? Okay. Now, and here's this disclaimer. I do coach some high net worth people for TED Talks, right? And because one, I'm very good at it, and two, it's economically of great value doing it. Okay, so that's the two things. I don't class myself as a coach, and here's why. And I'm quite selfish about it, really. But it's been really, really honest with you, you know. And I can share this with both of you and anybody listening. I get drained turning up to be a coach. I think I'm very good at it. Well, I know I am. But I get actually very drained. Takes a lot out of me being very good at it. Whereas other people, it mightn't take as much out of them. They can set boundaries. They're very well organized. They just turn up and it's seamless for them or whatever. Me being the person I am, I'm all in.
Are you an empath? Do you take on their energy when you coach?
Yes. So you could see how that would be counterproductive for me with maybe the wrong person or wrong people. So I don't know. The other thing is this: I don't have a great desire for it. I'm a creator. I love creating opportunities, new business ventures, introducing new people, making this happen, starting that, investing in this, creating jobs for other people, creating roles, creating magic, seeing it be successful. That's what I love doing. You know, I just wouldn't buzz off knowing I was tied to Zoom 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a week, you know, and no.
Well, you even get excited just talking about it, because I love to hear your enthusiasm when you're talking about this, and that shows that you have such a great love for it. So that's amazing.
The coaching thing's funny because I've actually found myself in this space in lots of ways because I'm affiliated with the Napoleon Hill Institute as a master coach. I'm a director of master coach for Ireland. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to be on calls, coach. What it means is I'm going to create a business where I'm going to develop coaches who are looking after the field, so to speak.
But in that same sense, you were actually coaching the coaches. So
different side.
You're still in some respect, and it's it's whatever you want to call yourself.
Yeah, but in that space, yeah.
But there still is, it seems that, where you're talking about the TED Talks, you're still coaching.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
So it's still part of you.
But Glenda, do you see the TED Talks thing? I could make £100,000 a year TED Talk coaching. I choose not to.
Yeah.
Like for that reason. I might make £20,000 a year doing it because it pays for this wee small project but I don't go really deep into it. It just shows you money's not my motivator in that area, because if it was, it would be. But that takes a lot out of me as well. I'm actually coaching 2 people at the minute. I'm looking up at a whiteboard here. 2 people at the minute for TED Talks. They don't even have the TED Talk yet, but they want to be coached by me. And I'm doing it, and I'm happy doing it, and I'm doing it with heart and I love, and they've got all me for the 5 weeks, and that's fine. That's fine. But I don't have a desire to have 10, 20 clients making lots of money doing it, where I can be fulfilled elsewhere doing something else.
Now, you've done a TED Talk yourself, correct?
Yes, 2.
2 of them. What were they about, and how did that make you feel?
The first one was about self-belief and not giving up, 3 feet from gold, the parable and Think and Grow Rich, and I talk about my father in it, injected self-belief into me, and blah blah blah. But a lot of what we talked about already is in that talk, right? And that's the talk that meant something to me. That was my coming out parade. That's where I laid a lot of skeletons to rest. That's where I told the world XYZ. And so that talk meant a hell of a lot to me. It didn't take the internet by storm. It has a couple of thousand views. Grateful for everybody that watched it. But I did a second, and that made me feel, it gave me a lot of joy, satisfaction, a lot of fulfillment. And I'm very, very glad I did do it. I'm very proud of it. And that's the one that meant something to me. The second one was during a pandemic. I was invited to do it because I was well known in the industry. I did it because it was another box to tick, 2-time TED speaker. Why not? Talk didn't really mean much to me. It was an idea that I had at the time about virtual relationships and virtual emotional intelligence and not needing to meet real people ever again. And did I really even want to meet anybody again? Sure, I can meet you on Zoom. Why would we meet for a coffee? So it was almost a play with the climate that we were in at the time. And but it doesn't really mean much to me, to be really honest. But the big lesson I did learn from my own talk and from myself was this. Post-pandemic, I leaned into some of the stuff that I talked about in that talk. When I meet somebody for coffee now, it's with intention. I'm not just meeting to shoot the breeze with some randomer. Because before, Gary the nice guy was meeting people every other day for coffees to talk about whatever. Now, yes, do that in your downtime and all the rest of it, but as part of your career or business life, I was meeting people that I didn't have value for, and they had none for me. We were just meeting because we'll meet for a coffee, and I'm like, yeah, okay. Now it's no. I'm like, if I'm meeting somebody, you best believe it's worthwhile for them and me. Of course. Or I'm not doing it. So that's what I've learned from my own second TED Talk. You talk about what you learned and felt. So I suppose I became out wiser because of my own advice, funnily enough.
That's good.
So.
Well, I'm sure also this helps with your own children, and tell us how all of this has affected your relationship with your kids, because that has, it has to have come through in especially what your father-in-law did for you, and now as you are a parent and having children of your own.
He's a grandparent.
And a grandparent too.
Can you believe that? He looks, when I first heard that, I was like, there's no way.
You want to say he looked amazing, Nicole. That's what you want to say. That right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you want to know something? Here's one for you. I have a great relationship with my family. I could be even better than I am, no doubt, but it's definitely improved our outlook. Like my daughter was bullied at school. My daughter didn't even at one point wanted to take her own life and things like that. Now my daughter's a TED speaker. She's a like top 30 girls in the whole of UK in beauty pageants. She is an ambassador for Autism NI, a national charity. She is a public speaker. She
Wow.
spoke at my event on Friday night. Check out my Facebook page. You know what I mean? So you talk about, she is my social media content manager. Like, so you talk about the impact and the ripple effect. I give her credit for it all, by the way. But I would like to, well, I know I've played, a part in opening doors or showing the way or encouragement. So, but she takes all the credit for all her good work, and rightfully so. And so that's an example of how I suppose what I'm doing has nurtured certainly my daughter. My eldest son is a manager in retail, flourishing. My youngest son still finding his way. He's leaving school, but my wife's all big into manifesting and all journaling and all that stuff now. Never was before. So listen, it's had a ripple effect, I'm sure, and I'm very proud of everybody, and I'm very proud to have to be part of their journey too, as much as them supporting me and mine.
Well, it's such an important factor just in life that you have, where your father-in-law gave you a piece of himself,
Yeah.
and you've been able to turn around and do the same for your children, because not all men are created equal, especially when it comes to their children. And, kudos to you. I love hearing that.
Do you know what I still need to improve on? Do you know what I'm not, do what I do well, but then sometimes I don't do so well, is giving compliments when they're deserved. I do give compliments. I do say, hey, that's brilliant. Don't do it enough though. Don't do it enough. Just on being reflective in this conversation. Don't do it enough. Don't do it enough. And it goes back to not receiving them at home, not being used to that, being brought up with anything like that. And sometimes old habits can die hard, where you feel nearly even slightly awkward giving them. Not normally, but I'm just saying, very, very occasionally, it can, like old habit, an old paradigm, I can find myself where I should really be telling them how bloody amazing they were there. Like that's what my father-in-law would have done. And
well, the best part of learning how to change is, first of all, of recognizing it. And since you've now come on here and you've recognized that, it's something that you can, just tune into a little bit more. And I see, I've seen through my life with my own children, because they didn't get it from their father. Just I could see of them always, when I would say to them how proud I was of them, I could see their whole body just like standing up taller, and it just did so much for them throughout their life. And even, never mind just throughout, like even now as my kids are adults, and when my son will phone to tell me about something great that's come into his life, or my daughter, and when I tell them how proud I am of them, they just they feel so good about themselves, and I just love, you can hear it in them. So it's it's never too late, and it's always so important, even as we do that for friends, family, anybody. It's really great to feel good about yourself, and it doesn't take much for us as people just to put up somebody.
You know what? It's selfless to do that.
Yeah,
it's about being selfless and about removing any ego or anything or whatever. It's about removing yourself. It's not about you.
Right.
It's not about how I feel. It's not about whatever. It's like, and I do it. Like I'm sure you could tell, my personality. I'm like that 9 times out of 10. But I just sometimes I'm able to catch myself and go, why did be selfless here, Gary, more, and do it. But it's not from a position of not wanting to. It's like just maybe. It's like an old habit. Old habits dying hard, and if we don't keep nurturing the good stuff, you don't keep watering the plant, what happens? It dies. So keep doing it, and keep. We're always improving, right?
Absolutely.
We're always improving. We're always improving. And I do do it a lot. Like, my children hug and love them and all that stuff. Just talking about a wee area where for improvement, and it's just made me reflect on it as I've been vocalizing it to you out loud.
And it's really interesting because even though our kids are grown, we're still their mom or their dad,
Of course.
regardless. And,
Yeah.
and even with my dad, who's 84 now, I'm still his child.
Yeah.
So I love it when he'll, hug me or tell me, oh gosh, I saw you doing this or I saw you doing that. It excites me that it excites him.
Yeah.
Always important.
We're
Always.
do you know what I noticed? Like, and this is something that, and this is like giving you an insight into my immatureness and childness. But see, when I was younger, even when I moved out of home, my mother would have always been very generous at Christmas, right? Lovely present, blah 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 blah. They've spent expensive bottle of aftershave, whatever, the stuff you wouldn't buy yourself ordinarily sometimes, right? Or maybe you would, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then as I got a bit older, it got a lot less, right? And I was thinking, I'm still your son. I still love to be spoiled. I'm still, because what happened was grandchildren came.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then it's just like, he's had his time type of thing. And I'm like, no, I'm still your son. When I still want to feel that feeling. And that's not lost on me, because the other day, me and my wife were talking, and my daughter's 27, and it was something like she had 2 really rough days or something. What was it? And 2 very busy days, and I said, I'm going to run her a bath. I'm going to run her a bath. I'm going to pour a glass of wine. I'm going to say, go up and lock that door. And self-care, go in there for an hour. We'll look after the 2 boys. And my wife said jokingly, she's out enough to run a bath or something, like, it's just a joke, like, and I said, no, I said, that's my daughter.
Yeah.
Do you get my point? There's something, there's a message in there, if you know what I mean. We're never too old, to receive those compliments or that love or that kindness, even because we've been around the block or we've experienced X, Y, Z 100 times over. There's still that child in us as well, somewhere.
Absolutely. And, I always tell my girls, look, here's the deal. I'm your mom till I die, and even if they're on the phone or something, I'm like, I still worry. I said, you don't even have to send me a word. Just send me a happy face so I know you're alive. That's, that's all I want.
Yeah, there you go.
And it's so true. Yeah, I have the exact same feeling of all times.
So it's beautiful.
So what's coming forward now for the springtime is here, and we are now starting to move forward. And do you have anything that you want to share with us as what you're doing?
Something just like the flowers and the trees will be blossoming, just like everything else coming into this time. I am on a relentless crusade every day of the year. Even when I'm off, probably, this life isn't for everybody either, in terms of, not switching off and stuff. And sometimes I do switch off, but you never for too long. You know what I mean? Not really. And that's the double edge of the sword, with being obsessed with being the best and being the best me and improving and creating a legacy and achieving my potential and making my family proud and making myself proud of me. All those things are drivers for me personally. It's a double-edged sword, because you achieve so much success, you achieve so many accolades and awards and whatever it might be. But there's always a price. There's a sacrifice, and that's natural, by the way. Like success should come at a price, as long as it's ideally not your bloody health or anything else. But you get my point. That comes with a sacrifice in time, study, energy, chance, taking risks, or whatever it might be. Everything has a price, and everything is an exchange of value. So when you achieve this, you've gave something for it. You haven't just, unless you're born a multimillionaire. So I truly feel that, and I have to get that balance a bit more. But I don't know. I talk to a lot of people that achieve extraordinary results, and it's definitely a common thread in high performers that, it's and often a lot of cases it's succeed at all costs. which isn't necessarily my objective or my point of view, but you get my sort of train of thought. It's succeed and be successful, and pay the price of time, pay the price of energy, pay the price of, invest and pay the price of do what it takes, do whatever it takes.
Right.
And I am
But there's rewards with that too.
yes, of course, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I would just improve. Again, back to my ethos about improving, just improving my self-care routines and switching off and balance and time. But listen, do you want to know something? I don't even want to master that. Where's the fun in knowing everything? I don't want to master anything like that. I want to be always learning and always
Yeah.
always not having it figured out and always striving.
That's part of the fun of it all, isn't it?
So that's where I am in life. And what's next? Everything is next.
I love it.
Everything.
I hate to interrupt, but we are unfortunately getting to the end. And I could talk to you forever because I just love I love the way you think. I love the way you look at it, your outlook towards life. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Thank you
And
so
I
much.
look forward to maybe we'll be lucky enough to have you back on and we can discuss something else because you have so many areas. But would you like to leave us with some golden nugget that somebody could get when they're from today?
I think something that's just predominantly in my mind talking to you, and also from earlier conversations I've had today. There's a lot of people, if not everybody, experiences some form of self-doubt as they progress, right? And I talked honestly, no matter how wealthy somebody is or how successful they are in accolades, they privately experience a lot of self-doubt because quite a lot of what they do next is the unknown, is the new, is the breakthrough, is the growing. And here's the thing I would say to anybody, at any level. Faith is something that can be developed. If you don't have enough faith in yourself, don't worry. Half the world doesn't. And a lot of the successful people you look at are experiencing a lot of the doubt and anxiety and self-doubt and self-limiting beliefs that you are too, because nobody's perfect, no matter who you're looking at, no matter, I don't care if it's Tony Robbins or Richard Branson or whoever it is, not everybody has it figured out because they're all only human. But here's the good news. Faith can be developed. You can develop faith in yourself. Google auto-suggestion, buy the book Think and Grow Rich and go to the chapter auto-suggestion and start developing your faith. That's it.
Beautiful. I love that. And if anybody hasn't read Think and Grow Rich, I do highly recommend it. It's a book that you actually will never finish.
No.
Because it's a book that you have to keep on. I have it in my room where at times I just open up something and it just happens to be the right thing at the right time.
Yeah.
It's that type of book.
Here.
Yeah. Nicole, what leading or words of wisdom that you would like to leave us with?
One of the things that I heard Gary mention, and I think can be true for anybody, is to leave someone with more than they have, to make them feel good. And, kindness is so important. We're living in a world right now that's, I'm going to say a tad bit sketchy, a tad bit more disruptive than we've had in a long time. I think we're going on a course that's going to get a little harder before it gets easier. And the kindness you extend to someone and the empathy you can extend to someone is so important right now. So, just leave them with a little more than they came with from your heart. If you lead with your heart, you can never go wrong.
And do you want to know something? It might be the only time they heard it that day.
True.
It might be the kindness they received that day.
Yeah, so important. So very important. Even if it's just holding a door open for someone, that shows that you're there and you care.
Yeah, 100%. Here.
I love it. Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Gary. One quick question. How can somebody find you?
On Instagram, Gary B. Doherty Official. Everywhere else, Gary B. Doherty. LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, wherever. So yeah, just reach out. You'll not get me in any of the Think Network pages because I don't run them. My daughter runs them, so we get messages all the time. Hey Gary, and it's like, no, I'm not there. I'm not. I don't even have the logins or passwords. So
Well,
yeah. So Gary Doherty, come to me.
perfect. Love it. Thank you so much for giving us so many words of wisdom today, so many golden nuggets that were just dropped. And I hope that whoever's watching this and never anyone watching it on repeat learns that it just, just go with your heart, just like Nicole always says.
Yeah.
It's the
Thank
best
you
thing.
so much, Glenda, and thank you, Nicole, too. Sending you lots of love.
Thank you so much.
We care. Thank you so much. And we look forward to touching base again. And for those who are watching, thank you so much. And we look forward to your comments below. Enjoy yourself and have a beautiful day.